Stick to accessories, Clara. Leave the real designing to the men. The words, dripping with paternal condescension, echoed in the marbled halls of Moretti luxury fashions. Sunlight streamed through the towering windows, illuminating the impossibly chic attendees of my brother's promotion party. My hands trembled, clutching a glass of Prosecco. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. The sting of his dismissal was a familiar ache. My father, Jeppy, ever the patriarch, reinforced the unspoken truth. I was merely Clara Morty, daughter, not designer. News of Sterling Ventures' increased order, a quiet victory I'd savored moments before, now tasted like ash. I smiled tightly, excused myself, and walked away. They would all know eventually. Ever felt invisible, undervalued? Then you need to see what happens next. Subscribe for the ultimate revenge, trust me. The family is in for a rude awakening. 2012. Marco's promotion party at Moretti Luxury Fashions marked the latest in a long string of slights. Christmas had always been a stark reminder of the family hierarchy. Marco and Antonio received lavish gifts, sports cars, Rolexes, while I was presented with a starter sewing machine, a blatant symbol of my place in the family business. It was a beautiful machine, yes, but the message was unmistakable. Sew the seams, don't design the dream. The second incident occurred during the design competition for the Milan Fashion Week showcase in 2013. I poured my heart and soul into a collection of silk scarves and leather handbags, sketching late into the night, transforming my small apartment into a whirlwind of fabric swatches and design boards. My brothers, meanwhile, relied on established styles, barely putting in the effort. Yet when the designs were presented, Jeppy dismissed my innovative ideas as too risky and unmarketable, instead choosing Antonio's derivative collection. "The market wants what it knows, Clara," he said dismissively. I saw the pitying glances from the seamstresses. The final straw came in 2014. I had spent weeks perfecting a line of sustainable fabrics, sourced from ethical suppliers and infused with vibrant, innovative colors. Marco, struggling to meet a crucial deadline, saw an opportunity. He snuck into my studio, photographed my designs, and presented them as his own to the executive board. Jeppy, knowing full well the truth, not only approved but praised Marco's vision and dedication. I watched in stunned silence, the betrayal burning hotter than any anger I'd ever known. My own father congratulated the thief of my dreams. That day, Clara Morty died. Carmela Rossi was born. Miami's heat shimmered, blurring the edges of reality as I finalized my decision. I would attend Marco's wedding. Not as Clara Morty, scorned daughter, but as Carmela Rossi, an undeniable force. A plan started to take shape, a careful orchestration of appearance and presence. They would see me, but they wouldn't know me. Life was not always like this. Remember the tiny, windowless apartment above the laundromat, the relentless hum of the machines, the smell of detergent clinging to everything I owned. There were nights I ate ramen noodles for dinner, sketching designs by the dim light, fueled by stubborn hope and furious determination. No sleep, no social life, no sympathy, only the driving need to prove them wrong. It was a harsh apprenticeship, forging steel from the ashes of my dreams. My first milestone arrived unexpectedly. Sterling Ventures, impressed by a small line of scarves I'd designed under a pseudonym, placed a significant order. Then, in 2017, came the silent acquisition of Bella Knot, a boutique retail chain struggling under outdated management. Finally, the controlling interest in Sterling Ventures itself, the very company that gave me my first chance. With each victory, I built walls of separation, layers of anonymity, ensuring my past remained buried. They saw only Clara, the quiet one, the accessories girl. They never saw the late nights, the relentless hustling, the strategic brilliance that built an empire. No recognition, no validation, no glimpse of the woman I was becoming. That was their mistake. The secret was my weapon, a shield and a sword. The wedding invitation was a gauntlet thrown. The tension was palpable as I envisioned myself walking into that room, a storm of recognition and disbelief swirling in my wake. Could I maintain the facade, or would the years of carefully constructed anonymity crumble under the weight of their scrutiny? My heart pounded, a drumbeat of anticipation and apprehension. An urgent text pinged my phone. Nano's had a fall. My breath hitched. Nano, my grandfather, had always been my confidant, the one Morty who saw my potential. He was the one good memory I clung to from that life. This changed everything. The wedding became secondary. Within minutes, I booked a flight to Florence. My carefully chosen dress, a silk masterpiece designed to subtly scream success, was replaced with simple, understated clothes. The subtle, calculated revenge plan evaporated. Family superseded everything. Landing in Florence, the familiar Tuscan air hung heavy with unspoken emotions. The Moretti villa seemed smaller, the once imposing facade now carrying the weight of years. I steeled myself. No Carmela Rossi, fashion mogul. Today I was Clara, Nonno's granddaughter. The scene inside was chaotic. My aunts fluttered, Marco paced, and Antonio barked orders into his phone. Jeppy sat silently in a corner, his usual bluster deflated. They were all there, gathered around Nonno's bedside, their faces etched with worry. They hadn't changed. As I entered, a hush fell. Eyes turned, filled with surprise, then a tentative warmth. "Clara," my mother whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Jeppy looked up, his gaze lingering. Their obliviousness to my true identity was almost comical, a stark reminder of the chasm between their perception and reality. I forced a smile. "Focus, Clara, Nonno first." Nonno squeezed my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "My Clara," he rasped, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Always my Clara." The wedding was a distant memory. My family was here, I was here. This was where I needed to be, for now. The wedding would go on without me, that didn't matter. My grandfather's health was paramount. Days blurred into weeks as Nonno slowly recovered. The wedding was still a topic, and Marco and Antonio were fighting as usual. I stayed by Nonno's side. I watched the whole family dynamic as an outside viewer. Then came the phone call. My assistant, Sophia, her voice tight with barely contained excitement. "Carmela, it's everywhere. Forbes just dropped their 30 under 30 list. Fashion category. Guess who's on the cover?" I closed my eyes. Exposure. This was not part of the plan. I wanted to be in control, but the call had already been placed. "Open the laptop," I directed, my voice calm, betraying none of the turmoil within. "Show me." A picture flashed on the screen. My face, next to it a name, Carmela Rossi, followed by fashion mogul Sterling Ventures. My breath hitched. My carefully constructed wall of anonymity had been breached. The words hit me like a physical blow. "Fashion mogul. Sales figures are up across all divisions," Sophia continued breathlessly. "Sterling Ventures stock is soaring, everyone's talking about it." I ended the call, my mind racing. Damage control was paramount. But as I looked up, I saw my family standing in the doorway, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. Marco's mouth hung open, his usual arrogance replaced with stunned silence. Antonio's eyes darted back and forth, calculating. Jeppy stared, his face paling beneath his tan. My mother began to cry. "Carmela," Jeppy's voice was a hoarse whisper. Is this true?" I took a deep breath, the moment of truth had arrived. I was calm, centered. Years of meticulous planning had prepared me for this, though I hadn't expected it to happen here like this. The wedding revenge was gone. "Yes, Papa," I said, my voice clear and steady. "Carmela Rossi is me," Marco spluttered, "but the accessories, the scarves." "Designed by me," I stated, unflinching. "Under the Rossi label, and many others." I stood straighter as I revealed the truth of my empire. "I also own Bella Knot. And yes, Sterling Ventures," I added, watching as the color drained from my brothers' faces. The room was silent save for my mother's soft sobs. Their world was collapsing, their assumptions shattered. They had been so blinded by their own prejudices that they'd never seen the truth. The power shift was happening, and I was in control. Nonno squeezed my hand again, a twinkle in his eye. "Brava, Clara," he whispered, a smile spreading across his face. "Brava." The silence hung thick, punctuated only by Nonno's raspy breathing and Mama's quiet sobs. I watched them, a detached observer of the drama unfolding. "You laughed then, you're not laughing now." Antonio was the first to break. 50 million, he blurted, his voice laced with disbelief and a blatant hunger. "Carmela, Moretti could use an infusion of capital." "A partnership?" I raised an eyebrow, a silent question. "Partnership. After years of dismissal and stolen designs, the audacity." "I'll consider it," I said coolly, offering nothing more. Marco, recovering his composure, attempted a different tactic. "This Rossi thing, it's impressive, Clara, but family is family. We should celebrate together as Mortys." He stretched out his hand, a gesture of reconciliation, or was it manipulation? "Family?" I echoed, letting the word hang in the air, a loaded question. I kept my hands by my side, ignoring his extended hand. Did he even know what family meant? Jeppy, finally finding his voice, stepped forward, his eyes pleading. Clara, come back to Morty, run the company. Marco and Antonio, they can't handle it. My internal monologue raged. Now I'm good enough. Now that I've built my own empire. Morty Luxury Fashions is not my concern, Papa, I said, my voice flat. My focus is Sterling Ventures. A strategic move, a clear boundary, a power play. But, the Morty legacy, he exclaimed, desperation creeping into his tone. Legacy is earned, Papa, not inherited, I replied. The silence descended again, heavier this time. I decided to leave before I truly lost my composure and said something I might regret. I squeezed Nano's hand again and left. As I turned to leave, I added one last line, a quiet promise. I'm still Clara, but Clara makes her own rules now. I paused at the doorway, a thought striking me with the force of a physical blow. Their legacy. Their precious legacy. A slow smile spread across my face, a genuine expression of satisfaction. There is one thing Morty Luxury Fashions controls that interests me, I said, turning back to face them. The tension in the room ratcheted up another notch, visible in the rigid set of their shoulders, the shallow breaths they took. What had I planned all along? The Morty name, I stated. It's branding, it's trademarks, the very essence of what you believe gives you prestige. My words hung in the air, each syllable a calculated drop of venom. Intellectual property. A legal concept they valued above all else, a business tool they had wielded against competitors for decades. Jeppy frowned, confused. What about it? I allowed my smile to widen. I filed a claim contesting the trademark for Morty Luxury Fashions, nearly a year ago, citing mismanagement and declining brand value. It was a gamble, a long shot, but I'd stacked the deck in my favor, hiring the best IP lawyers in Europe. Litigious action, Marco scoffed. That's ludicrous, it's our name. Not entirely, I corrected calmly. My lawyers argue, and I believe they are correct, that the name is more associated now with the success of Sterling Ventures. It was a carefully constructed argument, backed by market research showing a significant overlap between my brand and the traditional Morty customer base. Consumer recognition. Jeppy's face crumpled. You would. I would, I confirmed, my voice devoid of emotion. In fact, I already have. The hearing is scheduled for next month. Depending on the outcome, I could very well own the right to the Morty name. Complete control. Antonio gasped, his face turning an unhealthy shade of gray. The thought of losing their name, their legacy, was a blow far more devastating than any financial loss. It was the ultimate humiliation, the final nail in the coffin of their arrogance. The family's reaction was exactly what I imagined it to be. Jeppy sank into a chair, defeated. The fight drained from his face. Why, Clara? Why this? I met his gaze, my eyes unwavering. Because you taught me that business is war, Papa, and in war you take what you can. I left them then, a family shattered by their own hubris. The Morty legacy, once their pride, was now a pawn in my game. Their name, soon to be mine. Months passed. The Mortys attempted reconciliation, showering Nano with gifts, hoping to reach me through him. I remained cordial, attending family dinners, but kept a strategic distance. Their attempts felt hollow, driven by self-interest, not genuine remorse. My responses were tailored, businesslike, leaving no room for emotional manipulation. I was polite but firm. Looking back, the liberation was profound. My studio expanded, filled with natural light and the vibrant energy of my design team. My home transformed from a refuge to a sanctuary. The constant anxiety of hiding my success dissolved, replaced by a quiet confidence. I was at peace. In the end, the trademark battle concluded favorably. I controlled the Morty name, a symbol of my triumph. It wasn't about possessing the legacy, but rewriting my own narrative. I had become the architect of my destiny, forever liberated from the shadows of the past. So, ready to build your empire, don't let anyone dim your light. Share this if you felt underestimated, then go conquer. Success, not revenge, is the sweetest victory.